Irresponsible, disappointing, and indefensible. That's how a multi-county grand jury describes the state of Oklahoma's mismanagement of millions of dollars of COVID-19 pandemic relief funds. Thanks so much for joining us tonight at 10. I'm Sarah Whaley.
And I'm Morgan Martin. Shay has the night off. While the grand jury didn't find any criminal activity, they laid out how the state misspent the money meant to help students. Fox 23's Devin Lyon outlines what the report said.
I do think it illustrated that we as a state absolutely failed in the administration of the GEER funding.
Last year, Oklahoma Attorney General Gentner Drummond called for a grand jury probe after an audit found the State Department of Education misspent millions of dollars in federal pandemic funding targeted for education. In 2020, Governor Kevin Stitt used $18 million federal dollars from the governor's Emergency Educational Relief Fund, known as GEER funds, to launch a pair of initiatives. $8 million went to bridge the gap, to give low-income families $1,500 grants to buy education materials. $10 million went to stay in school, to give low-income private school students $6,500 to help pay tuition. The grand jury report says Governor Stitt rejected guidance from the Trump administration to hire an agency experienced in federal grant management. Instead, the state, quote, relied on unvetted, unqualified private individuals and individuals with virtually no accountability to the state to carry out these political objectives, end quote. Jurors believe those political objectives were to establish a school voucher program. The report says nearly 500 families were given preferential treatment. They were allowed to apply for the grant programs 2 days before they officially launched. Just a day after the launch, stay-in-school funds were nearly depleted, with more than $5 million going to families who had no pandemic-related financial hardship. The nearly 700 students who did have a financial hardship applied and were denied. State auditors estimate nearly $2 million in Bridge the Gap funds went to non-education related items, such as doorbells, cameras, smartwatches, refrigerators, Xbox systems, and even Christmas trees. The grand jury found the state had a lack of accountability for managing the federal funds, ignoring administrative safeguards by delegating its authority to private individuals who lacked the necessary expertise to manage the money. Both Governor Stitt and State Superintendent Ryan Walters blamed a third-party vendor named Class Wallet. The governor went as far as filing what AG Drummond called a, quote, frivolous lawsuit against Class Wallet. Drummond later dismissed it. Last year, he told Fox 23,
"There's no culpability by Class Wallet. That's a convenient excuse, and the lawsuit filed in the fall was political cover. It's bunk."
Grand jurors say the problems were easily preventable if instead the State Department of Education managed the funds. The grand jury made several recommendations to prevent future misspending, including mandatory federal grant management, training for agencies getting more than $10 million federal dollars a year, requiring agencies to have written rules and policies to establish federal grant management guidance, and establishing a state training program for elected officials and department heads on conflicts of interest, record keeping, and preventing fraud and mismanagement. Covering news that matters, Devin Lyon, Fox 23 News.
Fox 23 reached out to both Governor Stitt and Walters. They both sent us statements, again, blaming the mismanagement on a vendor, though they did not specifically name Class Wallet.
Governor Stitt's communications director released a statement saying in part, quote, the AG has weaponized a grand jury to sign off on a press statement his office prepared. Ultimately, this was an inappropriate and unlawful use of a grand jury, all to pursue a headline in the Attorney General's campaign for governor.
You can read their full statements along with the full grand jury report for yourself in this story on fox23.com.